Hello, hello. I haven't fixed my mic settings yet, but that's fine. Let's go down to here. Yes, art app. I'll be using a mouse, so I'll probably be working in a pixel setting. We'll do 512 there. And I guess what I'll do is just practice a little bit of pixel art sprites, things of that sort. I don't exactly know what direction I want to take with this at all. I'll start with a coin. It's simple and easy to make. That's not right. I should probably set a designated size, shouldn't I? I make it 24 by 24. I'm gonna hope that's correct. That's not correct. That's 23. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I'll start with a coin of a sort. That seems like an interesting idea. I'll take this. Make this like a gray. And then all except the edge here. Go down like, actually, hang on. New layer. And of course, hang on a second, I forgot to do something. Now let's do that. Shuffle. Okay. There we go. We have some music now. Probably change this. Okay, that's Control R. I don't want to move that down. What is the hotkey for that tool? T, okay. That's fine. Something like that. And I suppose maybe here I'll go down. Give it like a little bit of a 3D coin look here. Could probably get away with widening this a little bit. Something like that. Let's see about making it seem a little bit less. There we go. I'll also throw that in there, like that. We'll say a gold coin, so I think I like that color. We're just gonna fill it. Get a darker one. Maybe I want rigid edges on the side. Something like this, maybe? Gotta sneak in a little bit of a upwards curve there. Something like that. Oh. Interesting. Oh, never mind. I just have to do that. Makes it like a bit of a rigid edge there. That's fine. Kind of want the surrounding area to be a tad bit darker, I think. We'll do, let's see. I think there's a, no, I think that's Pixel Studio that has that tool. Not Krita. Okay. Let's just fill this in. Maybe make it a little darker on the bottom. And oops, that's not it. Make it a little brighter on the top. That's a little too bright. That's blending in with that. Or would I say that's not bright enough? Yeah. I like that more. And let's just get black, kind of line out like a one on here. I think I want that a little smaller. Cool. I guess I could do something like this. What is the hotkey for the eyedropper tool? P? Okay. Yeah, do something like that to shorten that side. Since the coin is kind of curved that way. It would make a little bit more sense. Although I think I'll do that. This will go a little bit brighter. Definitely a lot brighter. Perhaps we do that for like the top. Or actually, I'll fill this in. Whoops. Guess that doesn't separate that enough. I could just change the threshold, but nah. Go with something like that. Maybe I also kind of line this in. Then maybe at the top I'll shove, needs to be brighter. The top I'll shove this in here. I gotta go to yellow. Want that to kind of shine that way. Kind of give the hint that it's turning back that way. Maybe I'll put a bit of a one there. And if I select that, make that a little brighter. I could also probably chuck in a bit of brightness up here. And that wouldn't hurt. There, something like that. And then I suppose I could do the opposite down here. Make it a little darker here. Go one there, two there. Something like that. I have the bottom, like the inner sides of this coin darker. And then it'll kind of just get brighter as it goes up. Something like that. And I'll do something like that. Just to add to it. And we have a coin. That doesn't look too bad. What if I were to take that, transfer that down, take that, transfer that down? It's definitely not centered, and that's a problem. That bothers me a lot. That's fine. Take this. Actually, I'll do a square here. Nope. Okay, fair enough. And then what if I go out like that? There we go. Except, oh wait, actually, hang on. This goes on this layer. Then we'll do that, which should go at the top, and then we go 27 there. Actually, let me just use the brush here. 3, 9, 15. 21. Is that 23 again? No, this is 24 here. That went out too far. So... Three, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24. There. Go with a new layer in case I want to transform it. What's the next thing I should do? I could do various things. Let's do a barrel of a sort. I'm gonna stick to a limit of 24 per. The reason for that is just because it's easier to limit myself with 24 and not like a realistic sizing for everything, because if it's not part of a full game, it doesn't need that. I want to say that maybe I would do something like this to kind of hint at it being on the top. Could, oops. Actually, I kind of want that effect where maybe it goes out. Maybe very slightly. It's kind of larger on the bottom. Absolutely no reason to do this, but I'm doing it anyway. I think that one will go up a little more. Obviously we'll put that right there. That would be like the hole in the barrel. I'll do something like this. Now I suppose I just have to color it in. First thing I want to do is, maybe I make that like a rustic gray color. I'll do that for the outline. And I'll do that. I'll make it a little thicker here. Same thing down here. There would be like a little bit of a metal ring there that kind of blocks that in. I'll go with a metal ring in here as well. Then I'll go with let's say a brown like that. Just fill these in. And of course I'll fill this in too. Go with a darker brown for this. And maybe I also put a darker brown on the outside here. Of course I want the brown to go even darker for that spot right there. Maybe I'd also get something like this where it's kind of darkened under the rings. Probably want something like this where this would go across. And again, I can put darkened areas there. I could even get away with doing something like that. Give it a little bit more detail. I like it, except there's not enough lighting. We're gonna go with the same lighting kind of on the top. So something like that. Nope, that's more shading than it is lighting, so maybe I'll chuck that here. Okay, and I'll go shading there. Maybe just at the bottom part on the edges here. But now I want to go brighter. A little bit brighter than that. That'll go down to there. A little bit of a shine here. And I think that'll just about do it. I'll also put a little bit of a shine there, because that would be the inner part of the ring. Maybe one right there too. And I have what looks to be a barrel. Not too bad looking, in my opinion. I suppose I could try and get a little in-between area here. To kind of shade under the rings, especially on this side where the light wouldn't go through it. Something like that. Obviously it's not needed up there. Maybe I do that and kind of change it a little bit. Maybe I even kind of end some of these with the lighter tone of it. Like that right there might be okay. And then I can then take that and place that back there. I think I like that. I think I'm gonna call that finished. Suppose on to the next one. Actually, hang on. This time I'm just gonna paint it. Okay. That definitely does not look right. But it doesn't look wrong when I do that. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 20. Oh, yeah, that's 21. I skipped 21 when I was counting. My bad. There we go. Nope, that's not right. There we go. And, that one seems like a challenge. I kind of like that. We're gonna do a palm tree. And for the palm tree, in my opinion, the most important thing is gonna be the shape. So let's get a few leaves in, like so. I think maybe I'll do something like that. Maybe I'll do something like that. No, I'll do something like that, and then maybe I'll lower this down one. Give it like a more top-down style of thing. Actually, hang on. I could get away with making a bigger palm tree. Something like that, maybe? And then this can go up. Say that kind of goes down there. Because the leaves, they would kind of droop down in a way. Then I could just go with something like that for the final one. And I could try and do something like that, maybe. Kind of hint that it goes out on the sides, but I'll probably do that with a bit of shading. I'll just move this down. I'll say it'll start out thinner and get thicker on the way down. Something like that. Something like that. Yeah. Maybe this kind of goes out and it curves over instead. And I could probably manage to make it a little thinner. Something like that. Yeah. Always kind of go in, figure out the silhouette. And I suppose I'll kind of just block it off at the bottom. But say if I were to make this in a game, this line would kind of go into the ground. Let's go with a nice green, I want to say. Maybe a brighter green. And if I go like kind of dark, I know the center should definitely be dark like that. Go with like a kind of like a line in between there. And then I suppose this time I'll get rid of the outline to the leaves. Definitely want that like that. palm trees have more of a like a yellowish color to them. Something like that. And I'm just gonna fill this in real quick. Make sure the silhouette is okay. I'll definitely remove that. I think I want to start this off even thinner. Something like that maybe wouldn't hurt. Because palm trees do begin quite thin at the top, I think. Now I kind of want that to go out. Maybe I'll do something like that. Kind of curve it out and then back in. Then select that. Maybe remove that and push these here. Kind of give that more of a downwards curve look. That looks better for sure. If I take this, we'll go a little brighter. Actually, instead of going just a little brighter, we're going to assume this one might be in the sun. So it might have like a more of like a yellowish color in the lighting. Definitely need a little bit more. Something like that, I think. And then with here, maybe since it's darker, I'll go with a little more of a red color. We'll go with that, and then so I kind of like that there. There we go. Let's say I select the leaves. I want the lighting maybe to be a bit more of a yellow as well. Now I'm crossing into changing the colors properly. We'll make that a little deeper for the line here. Maybe a little deeper still. Something like that. I actually think it could be even deeper. And maybe even this one, despite the fact that it's more of an outline. Maybe I'll still put like a yellowish color there. And then for these, maybe I'll go more of a bluish for where it gets darker. And then I'll go even darker to line this up. And then I want to say even darker for these here. And that's kind of a palm tree, but we're missing something. What's a palm tree without a coconut or a banana? One of the two. I think we can get away with doing something like that. And then that. Yeah, I like that. Maybe I brighten up the coconut just a little bit. There we go. I think I like that. Palm tree. Much smaller scale because palm trees would realistically be bigger than a barrel, but I also did want all the art to fit in a 24 by 24 area. So I'm not complaining too much. The one thing I do have to do is that there we go. And that should count as a third layer. So right now, I would say it's doing pretty good. I want to add, nope, that's not right. I want to add a folder. I think it's called the group layer. This would actually be group 1. There we go. Now, instead of doing things the hard way, I'll just copy and paste this over and then merge it with the paint layer at the bottom. We'll call this background. And delete that. That's not... Okay, there we go. So now... let's say I make a fish. I'm not doing any animations today, by the way. I don't think it's necessary. Animations are something that's a little more challenging, so if I do an animation, I don't think I want that to be the first stream because I'm not too great at those. We'll make this fish a little bit longer. I don't want it to go out like that. I want it to go up like that, kind of. One of these fish. I don't have any reference for any of these, by the way. So, if it looks like I'm not using reference, it's because I'm really not using reference. Get that there, and then we'll get a little bit of a fin on the top. Yeah, I think I like that. This I could afford to make smaller. The eye right there. I say I want this fish to be like a blue. I kind of want this fish to be blue. There's blue fish out there. I'll do something like that. I suppose maybe I'll do that and then back that up. I'll put like a bright yellow through here, maybe? Because some fish do have like that bright yellow color. Maybe just a little dimmer. Yeah, I'll stick to a pattern and go with a 4 there. I almost forgot to color that in. I want to say the fin might be a little more gray. And then I think the bottom of the fish will be like a silver. Something like that. Kind of like it. We'll definitely go darker and make the fin like a gray as well. And I suppose I should also make the back fin the same style where it's also kind of gray. And same thing with the yellow. I'll kind of dim that down, make it look like it's a fin. Something like that. And that's my fish. I think he looks good. There's one thing kind of bothering me though. Okay, there's my fish. Now the fish looks good. What if I just copy and paste the entire thing and then move it out? Now I don't have to make more. I suppose the next thing I'll try to do, maybe I make a campfire. Campfires are very common in video games, so it's kind of important to know how to make them. So let's start with something like this, and this definitely looks weird, I know. But I have a vision. So firstly, I want to head here and get like I want to say like a bark color, brown. And we're just going to fill all of this in with that bark brown. This also gets filled in with the bark color brown. And then I'll do something like that. So now I need like a wood color. Something like that. This also is a bark color brown. So now the bark color brown gets a little darker. Nope, further. Okay. It goes like that. So that kind of hints that, you know, this is its own, and then that's kind of fading into it. And then, of course, when we get down to this one, we'll make this one completely. There. Maybe I'll make it even darker because it's still kind of hard to separate. Maybe it's because of the lines. And then I'm already planning ahead a little bit. We're actually going to do that. And that, I want to say. Something like that. I probably could get away with that. So that's the wood. There is kind of something I want to change. That would be that. I did not mean to go back on there. I think this would, and this would have to be like so. And then I would take these. Because then it would go that way. Maybe I do take a only slightly darker color for this one and this one. And of course this should definitely match that. Be a darker color. Maybe the top is a color because of the fire, something like that. And then I go even brighter for that. Actually, I could probably even go with more orange when it comes to these. So if I just take more orange. With all of these. And then same with this, I'll make this a little more orange. Something like that. I think that's an okay design. I think I want that more orange than it is red. Now all I need to do is get like a... Yeah, start with like a red orange and then... something like that. And I definitely need like that to kind of function for me. Could probably get a little reddish in here. I'm gonna go that, and then we'll go a little reddish in some of the spots where it's kind of surrounded. But then I'll go a little more yellowish at the top especially. Something like that. Do something like that, and then I think I like that. I think that gives off what I'm trying to give off. What if I go like that, and then could potentially go that way with it. Something like that, maybe? Seems to be a common pattern to just kind of follow where it touches the edges and push yellow there. Completely erase that one, and I think that might work. Okay, what if I erase this one and throw that like that? Okay, I like that. I think that's what I'm gonna call my finished campfire. Doesn't look too bad at all. I could probably try and move it up. I'm going to assume this is, yeah. Okay. Move it up, make sure it's kind of centered, and that's my campfire. Not bad at all. I suppose let's make a potion. Potions are quite common in games, right? I wanted to avoid making a potion because, while they are common in games, the shape and size of the bottle is really up to the creator how to make. At this rate, like, even that counts as a potion. But I'm gonna go with more of like a... or this style of bottle. And then we'll get a classic heart in there. Obviously these things are like almost as red can be. So let's fill it in. I got a white label. And maybe I'll also erase the top there. No, I kind of like the curve being there. I could potentially take like a pink and highlight the top there. The bottle is transparent, so any sunlight would definitely show, or any light at all, would definitely show through quite a bit. I'll get a little bit on the other side as well. And then I guess any areas where it's dark, it would probably get really dark. Because liquid tends to absorb light a little bit more than most solids do. Could also throw this down there. Or not that. This down here, because that's going to be like the inside of the bottle. And, guess I could also potentially get shadows here, although that is extremely dark for paper. Probably get like shadows here. And then I guess it doesn't need to be lit up anywhere. Maybe what I do is I take like a more solidified but lighter red for the heart. A little darker. I'll do that. And then I could do a solidified but not as dark red for the... Yeah. Maybe a little bit brighter. Something like that. And... gonna kind of go overkill with the lighting, but I want a little bit of a streak there. Because liquid and lighting is weird. I like that. Potion bottle. I'm thinking I'll do 2 more. After putting like a random generator, I'm gonna do a worn signpost. That one probably comes from something like Skyrim. But we'll say there's the signpost. I kind of like the way it looks. Uh-oh. Okay. So now we'll take this and we'll just move that down. Worn means we're gonna like take out chunks of the signpost itself. We're gonna get like a gray type of thing around the edges here. Because any worn signpost is going to have quite a bit of gray. I'll chuck some like there. And then now I'll get an actual color that's meant to be this brown but darker to chuck as like a little bit of a shadow behind the sign itself. Yeah, a little bit. Maybe like that. That's too dark. Maybe that. Yeah. I think that still might be too dark. Okay, I like that. That's better. Yeah, I get like a little offset, something for like the board design, I suppose. Something like that. Chuck something there. And then we'll go up like that. I think that's too much. Kind of make the handle a little bit the same. I definitely need this to be closer to the color. Something like that, and then I probably could get away with designing that because yeah, that works. Now, I suppose I'll take this and make it a little bit lighter, so there's a little bit of, oh, I ended up with this. Actually, you know what? Let's try that. Make this a little bit lighter. Because there is still some highlights on the post. Same thing with this, because this is part of the log. We'll make that a little bit lighter. And then we'll go like that, make that a little bit lighter. I think make that normal. Even the darker areas should have a little bit of lighting to them, so let's chuck this here. Likewise, I think some of them should also be a tad bit darker. And that's the worn signpost. I would argue that looks pretty good, considering I've never made a signpost before now. That should also have a little bit of lighting. That's why I looked off. We'll make that entire thing have lighting. There we go. Not a bad looking signpost at all. Finally, I guess the next one was like a runestone of a sort, so we're going to potentially make like a little bit of a random rock shape. I think I like it. Also, so what did I do? 8 today? So far? I think I'll leave it at 8. I think 8's a good number. We're gonna get like a light magenta color. And I guess I'll just make like a little bit of a swirl. Something like that. Nice. Now I'll get like a bright color for any lighting. Or actually, maybe I'll make this glow. So then, if I want any like shadows, it would only be pretty much only in those spots. Any default lighting from the light above it, I'll say we'll go like that. And then I'll take like a little more gray, a little bit lighter, and it'll go around the swirl to kind of make it look like the swirl is glowing a little bit. I suppose I could get away with making some parts lighter than others. Specifically the entire inside of the rock. And then we'll have some parts go even brighter, specifically that part there and that part there. And we'll keep that rune. I like it. It's very difficult to do a style of thing where this glows, but I kind of like it. This needs to be lighter as to be brighter than the glow, I think. Yes. And, I think that'll do it. I think I like it. Let me kind of move it. There you go. Actually, I have a better idea. Let me try to get it up here. There you go. That's the 8 that I did today. I don't think they're too bad. I know that some of them are smaller than they would be realistically, especially the palm tree, the campfire, because any character designed next to a palm tree like that would be tiny like that. And you know, that you can't really get much detail into something like that. So I think that does it for group 1. Either next time either I'll make more of these, or I'll actually try and get some kind of game planned and sketch those out. The only thing I'm thinking about is I only have a keyboard and mouse because my drawing tablet is temporarily being used as a second monitor. Otherwise, that'll about do it for the stream. Until next time, goodbye. Next time I'm doing... What is it? I think I'm doing music next time, messing around with that. I'll definitely have to put disclaimers in there because, yeah. I'll see everyone in the next one. Goodbye.